Okay, we did that problem earlier where we were doing the proportion, right? And it worked out. It was a pain in the butt, but it worked out. We got it done. Let me show you a trick. Sometimes this pans out. 16 says the one-line diagram on a set of plans calls for a 10-gauge wire to be run from a 3-pole 15 amp circuit breaker to a motor. The plans do not specify the grounding conductor size, but you know that the specifications require that you pull one with each circuit. Okay. The plans only state to ground per the NEC. The smallest size wire you should install with the circuit conductors is what gauge. Now, what I'm going to tell you on this one is this will apply most of the time to your 15, 20, and 30 amp circuits. Those pretty specifically those three. But how this works is thusly. We can set up the proportion. We can do it via proportion if we want to, but let me show you a quick trick on one like this. So we are talking a 15 amp circuit. Okay, so I'll write that out. We got a 15 amp circuit. What size wire does a 15 amp circuit typically run? There's a couple places we can check that. We can check the small conductor rule. Hopefully we have a pretty good key in on this, but we can check the small conductor rule. So we 14 gauge copper is a 15 amp breaker, right? Okay, so we're going to be using number 14 there. Now, what size EGC would that be? Well, let's check 250.122. 250.122 for our EGCs for a 15 amp circuit breaker is also going to be a 14. What do you know? Number 14. So when I go to do this proportion, if for whatever reason I make this side a number 10, the ground will be a number 10, because when you proportion that out, it's same, right? So for a 15 amp circuit, we got a 14 hot and a 14 EGC. For a 20 amp circuit, we got a 12 hot and a 12 EGC, right? We can look at that right here, okay? Okay, and for a 30 amp circuit, right? For a 30 amp circuit, we're going to have a number 10 EGC and a number 10 hot, generally speaking, right? So most of the time, when you're doing a question like this for a 15, 20, or 30 amp circuit, if you increase the size of the ungrounded conductors to whatever size, the equipment grounding conductor, it's going to be equivalent. Okay, so when you see a question like that, it's kind of a trick gotcha kind of thing. Now, I do fully encourage going in and doing the calculation if it makes you more comfortable with understanding how the proportions work and using Chapter 9 Table 8. But know that that is a trick when you have these smaller ampere rating circuits. Sound good? All right.